James, I don't mean to pry, but you look like a man who is always running out of breath, Grandpa Tom chuckled, watching his grandson shuffle through a thick stack of papers. James sighed, letting his work fall onto the table. Grandpa, there's never enough time. Between my job, errands, and trying to start my own business, I feel like I'm drowning. Grandpa Tom settled back in his chair, a smile playing on his lips. You know, I once felt like that too. But life taught me something: time doesn't slip away. We let it slip. A sudden curiosity sparked within James's face as he sat closer. What do you mean? Grandpa Tom took his time taking a sip of his coffee and locked eyes with James. Let me tell you a story. When I was your age, I began working at the factory. The shifts were too long, and always something was broken. What was so strange, though, about me was that I too wanted to have a life, to seize more than that which I did. And yet somehow those hours seemed to slip on by. I worked the shift and came home, exhausted, feeling as though I never had the time. He nodded, intrigued. In fact, he already familiarized himself with the endless chain of work. One day, my father, your great-grandfather, sat me down, he started. He was a man of few words, but he handed me a piece of paper and asked, "How many hours do you have in a day, son?" Grandpa Tom grinned. Exactly. But at the time, I hadn't really thought about what that really meant. My dad said to me, "Those hours aren't infinite. Spend them like money. Waste them, and they'll be gone in an instant before you even realize it." James furrowed his eyebrows. Spend time like it's money? Yes, James. Assume you have $24 in your pocket. An hour is worth $1. Every decision wastes you some time, just as spending money wastes you cash. You don't spend all your cash on things you don't need, do you? James thought for a moment, with a tiny epiphany. Well, I wouldn't waste my money dumbly. So why waste my time that way? Grandpa Tom leaned forward. James's interest had encouraged him. Exactly. I began to realize that just because I had time did not mean I had to say yes to everything. I began to ask myself, what really matters? Where should my time be spent? How did you know what was important? James asked. Simple. I made a list. Every Sunday night, I'd write down the 3 things that mattered most to me for the week. One was always my job because it paid the bills. But the other 2, those were my dreams and my family. That was tough. I had to learn how to say no. Friends will invite me to go out, and I'd say, "No, sorry, I have other plans." Well, honestly, I didn't even have to say my plans were going to a better future. Sometimes, I even lost sleep just to have time for it. But every choice added up. One little step at a time, I was building the life I wanted. Grandpa, isn't it tiring? James asked, feeling a bit overwhelmed by that mountain. Yes, it was, Grandpa Tom confessed. Here's the thing. I never attempted to change my life overnight. I dedicated myself to 1 hour a day toward my goals. 1 hour, no more, no less. In that hour, I'd do something that brought me closer to my dream. Over the years, those hours stacked up. And because I was consistent, my life changed. Then James looks down and wonders if he could do the same. But what if it's not enough? I always feel like I need to do more. Grandpa Tom grinned, lifting his hand to place a reassuring touch on the shoulder. That's where most people go wrong. They think productivity is about doing more. But true productivity is about doing less of what doesn't matter. 1 hour a day, focused on something meaningful, will get you further than 10 hours of busy work. James nodded, beginning to see things in a different light. So, what should I do next? Grandpa Tom fished into his pocket and produced the old pocket watch. Take this, he said, pushing it into James's palm. Every time you look at this, ask yourself, am I spending this hour wisely? James clasped the watch tight, feeling its weight. It's a reminder, isn't it? Yes. A reminder that time is your most valuable asset, he said with a grin. Start small. Plan your week with intention. Set your goals, focus on 1 hour at a time, and make sure those hours lead you where you want to go. He glanced at his grandfather's watch. For the first time ever, He understood what clarity actually meant. He finally understood the concept of mastering time was not doing everything, but it was actually doing what matters most. For the following weeks, James took all the advice from his granddad. Every Sunday night, he set his 3 focuses for the week ahead. He spent 1 hour daily focusing on his dreams, learning new things, and even opening a website for his business. Gradually, he took control. He refused to attend invitations where his business goals are put less in the fore, and he could not spend hours scrolling mindlessly on social media. The changes were so slight at first, but gradually over the weeks and months he saw how things were changing. He realized his business started catching much attention, and his work, unlike before, was more manageable. He was no longer out of breath. One evening James sat down with his grandfather Tom, full of peace. "I understand now, grandfather," said he. "I thought I had no time. But it's me. It's not the making of the time." Grandpa Tom looked at him with brightened eyes. "That's the secret, James. The truth is, life's going to throw more at you than you can handle, but when you master your time, you decide what to hold on to and what to let go." James looked at his grandfather in such gratitude and told him, "Thanks, Grandpa. I never realized how much power I had over my own life." His face breaks into a soft smile as he nods. The thing is, though, time isn't something you just spend. It's something you invest. Every hour is a seed. Nurture it, plant it in the right soil, and one day, you'll stand in the garden of your dreams. For as he sat there in that quiet room, James realized he had gained something invaluable, the wisdom to turn his hours into something meaningful. And he knew he would take that lesson of his grandfather's with him, always.